Well, that's great. We don't have to worry about any more Asian killers on the loose. In other news, today we'll be looking at the London smog of 1952. Today we have Jeff Bigglesworth with 60 Minutes interviewing Tom Finkelstein, a smog survivor. As you know, London is accustomed to generally foggy conditions, but on December 4th, 1952, an anticyclone settled over a windless London. This caused a temperature inversion with cold, stagnant air trapped under a layer of warm air. A resultant of fog mixed with chimney smoke, vehicle exhaust fumes, and other pollutants such as sulfur dioxide formed a persistent smog blanketing the capital the following day. The presence of tiny particles of soot gave the smog its yellow-black color, giving it the nickname pea souper. The absence of significant wind prevented its dispersal and allowed an unprecedented accumulation of pollutants. When the smog eventually cleared away, the black-gray covering of slimy soot particles on the top of surface doors laid for weeks to follow. Following the smog, statistics compiled by medical servers found that the smog had killed about 4,000 people. Most of the victims were very young or elderly or had a pre-existing condition. February of 1953, Lieutenant Colonel Lipton suggested that the House of Commons that the fog had caused 6,000 deaths and that 25,000 or more people had claimed sickness benefits in London during that period. Most of the deaths were caused by respiratory tract infections from hypoxia and, as a result, mechanical obstruction of the air passages by pus arising from the lung infections caused by the smog. More recent studies suggest that about 12,000 people were totally killed. Now, let's take a look at what Tom Finkelstein had to say with his interview with Jeff Bigglesworth. Jeff?
Hi, I'm Jeff, from Almost 60 Minutes, and tonight I will be interviewing with my good friend Tom. He's a survivor of the Great London Smog. How you doing tonight, Tom?
Doing terrific, Jeff. Thank you for asking.
Did people panic in London?
Well, Jeff, I would like to say that, not really in the beginning. I was not panicked, no, because it was just a normal London day. I mean, foggy, December, known for the fog. I mean, it seemed like a normal day, but the fog was a lot thicker than normal. I mean, what did really set in for me was that after a while the fog was not going away, so definitely grew to be a little bit nervous.
How was the transportation?
Well, Jeff, I mean, you could imagine that with such thick fog, what would transportation be like in America? I mean, you've no idea what it would really be like because you've never experienced something so great. Transportation had completely cut off besides the London Underground, which is American subways. The fog was just so thick that you couldn't see anything, so transportation would have been impossible.
Oh, really? If you were indoors, were you safe?
Jeff, to answer that question very simply, absolutely not. Everything was shut down. Sporting events, football, concerts, indoor concerts, everything. I know personally that I could barely see down the hallways in my own house.
Okay. Did people die?
Yes, of course, people died just by suffering from asphyxiation due to the coal mixing in with the fog itself. It's obviously very toxic, but during the time no one really realised anything, that no one realised that it would be such a serious problem.
What a shame. Did anything happen after this?
Well, Jeff, to elaborate more on a previous question and also to answer this question, after this tragedy, after we saw these 4,000 deaths, 4 years later, the Clean Air Act was passed, basically declaring that in London no more coal was to be burned. Alternative sources of heat were to be used. This was just as a safety precaution to prevent this from ever happening again. And just one last point that I would like to make is that recent studies, now that we're so far past, have shown that this has been actually the cause of over 12,000 deaths. So this was a pretty tragic situation, and I'm absolutely blessed to have survived through something like this. Being such a young age during the time, I was obviously still able to know what was going on and everything, but I just cannot thank God enough for allowing me to still be breathing clean air today.
I'm Jeff from 60 Minutes. Have a good night.
Well, there you have it. Tom Finkelstein, a smog survivor and still living today to tell his tale.